to explore a new concept, a revolutionary idea for a warrior of his time, the art of not fighting. He called it Mutekatsu-ryo, which translates to the school of winning without hands, or more poetically, the style of victory without a sword. This wasn't about cowardice. It was the opposite. It was about a level of mastery so profound that the sword itself became unnecessary. Bokuden realized true victory wasn't about cutting down your opponent. It was about transcending the conflict itself. It was about understanding your opponent so completely, controlling the situation so perfectly, that the fight was over before it even began. This is the heart of the mystery we're exploring today. How did he do it? How did a man who lived by the sword learn to conquer without it? Let's dive into the most famous and perhaps most revealing story about Bokuden's no-sword philosophy. It's a tale that has been told for centuries, and it perfectly illustrates his genius. One day, Bokuden was traveling on a ferry across Lake Biwa, Japan's largest lake. He was older now, his reputation preceding him wherever he went. He was dressed simply, trying not to draw attention, but on the crowded boat was a young, arrogant samurai. This samurai was loud, boastful, and waving his sword around, declaring himself the greatest swordsman. He noticed the quiet, unassuming Bokuden, who carried his two swords wrapped in cloth, a sign of a true practitioner. The arrogant samurai, seeing an easy target, began to mock Bokuden. "Hey, old man, what school do you belong to?" he sneered. Bokuden remained calm and simply replied, "My school is the school of winning without a sword." The young samurai burst into laughter. "Winning without a sword? What kind of nonsense is that? You're just a coward who's afraid to draw his blade." The other passengers grew nervous. A duel on a crowded, rocking boat would be a disaster. The young samurai, his pride stung, insisted on a duel right then and there. Bokuden sighed, looking not at the samurai, but at the scenery around them. "A duel here would be dangerous for the others," he said calmly. "And your technique is about showing off. To truly test our skills, we need a better place. Let us row to that small island over there. There we can fight without interruption." The arrogant samurai, blinded by his ego, readily agreed. He was convinced the old man was just trying to delay his demise. He ordered the ferryman to row to the deserted island. As they approached the shore, the young samurai, eager for his moment of glory, leaped from the boat and drew his katana, striking a dramatic pose on the beach. "Come on, old man. Let's see the no-sword style of yours," he yelled. Bokuden stood up slowly in the boat, but instead of drawing his sword or jumping ashore, he did something completely unexpected. He picked up the ferryman's long wooden pole, pushed the boat hard away from the island, and began to glide back out into the open water. The young samurai stood there, stunned, his sword drawn and ready for a fight that would never happen. "Hey, where are you going, you coward?" he screamed from the island. Bokuden, now a safe distance away, simply smiled and called back, "This is my school of winning without a sword." He had won the duel completely. He defeated his opponent's aggression, his ego, and his intention to fight. All without ever laying a hand on him or drawing his blade. He left the samurai stranded on the island, not physically harmed, but utterly defeated and humiliated, left alone with his own foolishness. This story is more than just a clever anecdote. It's a masterclass in strategy and psychology. Bokuden didn't just avoid a fight. He controlled the entire situation from start to finish. He understood the young samurai's psychology, his arrogance, his need for an audience, his rashness. He used that arrogance against him. He controlled the environment by suggesting the island. He used the samurai's own eagerness to his advantage. The victory was mental and strategic, a display of a level of mastery that went far beyond mere physical skill. But here is where the deeper mystery begins. How does one even learn this? The Kashima Shinto-ryu he mastered is a combat-focused art. It teaches you how to win a fight with a sword. It doesn't have a chapter on how to trick your opponent onto an island. So where did this philosophy come from? The historical records are surprisingly silent on this. This wasn't something he learned in a dojo. This was a personal revelation, a spiritual awakening. Some historians believe Bokuden was deeply influenced by Zen Buddhism, which was gaining prominence. Among the warrior class at the time, Zen teaches the importance of mindfulness, of understanding the nature of the self and the universe, and of achieving a state of no mind or mushin. This is a state of pure awareness, where one acts spontaneously and perfectly without conscious thought or emotion. In this state, a swordsman doesn't think, I must block this cut. He simply moves and blocks, as naturally as breathing. Could Bokuden have reached such a profound level of mushin that he could perceive an opponent's intent before they even acted? Could he see the spirit of the confrontation and dismantle it before it manifested physically? This is the true silent sword. It's a sword of the mind, a weapon of pure perception. When you can see the outcome of a battle before it starts, the physical act of fighting becomes redundant. You've already won. Think about the sheer confidence this requires. To face a man with a drawn sword, knowing you could defeat him with your own blade, but choosing instead to rely entirely on your wits and your understanding of the human spirit. That is a level of courage far greater than simply charging into battle. It's the courage to trust your inner wisdom over your physical training. But let's explore another possibility, one that's even more mysterious. There are legends, whispers really, that during his travels, Bokuden didn't just fight other swordsmen. He sought out mountain ascetics, Shinto priests, and mystics. Is it possible that he learned techniques that were not part of any formal martial art? Techniques of influencing the mind, of projecting an aura of calm or authority so powerful that it could pacify an aggressor? In Japanese folklore, there are concepts like kai, the spiritual shout, which isn't just a loud noise, but a projection of one's spirit. That can momentarily stun or disorient an opponent. Could Bokuden have mastered a silent form of kai? An overwhelming presence that simply communicated on a primal level, do not fight me. You cannot win. This would explain how he could de-escalate situations with seemingly simple words or gestures. His opponents wouldn't be reacting to the man, but to the immense spiritual pressure he was exerting. Consider another encounter. A ruffian, aware of Bokuden's fame, tried to ambush him on a narrow road. As the man charged, Bokuden didn't draw his sword. He simply stepped aside. And as the man stumbled past, Bokuden lightly tapped him on the back with his sheathed sword. The man fell not from the force of the blow, but from the shock of his own failed attack. And the sheer anticlimax of the encounter, Bokuden just kept walking. The fight was over. He didn't need to prove his superiority by injuring or killing the man. His mastery was so complete that he could resolve the conflict with the minimum necessary action. This is the true peak of martial arts. It's a journey that starts with learning how to fight, then progresses to learning how to win, and finally culminates in learning how not to fight at all. Bokuden's life shows us this entire path. He climbed the mountain of skill, stood at its summit, and saw that beyond it lay an even greater peak, the mountain of wisdom. So, was Tsukahara Bokuden a Zen master, a mystic, or simply a brilliant psychologist and strategist? Who was centuries ahead of his time? The truth is, he was likely all of these things. He wasn't just a swordsman. He was a complete martial artist. He understood that a real fight isn't just about technique. It's about psychology, environment, timing, and spirit. The sword is just one tool, and often not the most effective one. His legacy is not just in the duels he won, but in the conflicts he avoided. In a violent age, he taught that the greatest strength is restraint. The greatest victory is the one that preserves life rather than takes it. He was a teacher to shoguns and powerful lords, and what he taught them was not just how to wield a sword, but how to wield power with wisdom and compassion. The mystery of his no-sword style isn't about some secret magical technique. It's about a fundamental shift in perspective. It's the realization that the goal of a martial artist isn't to be a better fighter, but to be a better human being. To cultivate a spirit so calm and clear that it can pacify the violence in others and in oneself. Tsukahara Bokuden laid down his sword long before his death at the ripe old age of 82, an almost unheard-of lifespan for a swordsman of his era. He proved that the path of the sword, did not have to end in blood. His ultimate teaching is a paradox. To truly master the sword, you must be willing to leave it in its sheath. His silence was his ultimate weapon, and his greatest victories were the ones no one ever saw. The mystery isn't how he won without a sword. The mystery is how many of us in our own lives can learn to do the same. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the life of the Silent Sword Saint. If you enjoyed this exploration of history and philosophy, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think about Bokuden's philosophy. Until next time, stay curious.